What does it mean to be dominant? I've played at the highest level. I've received the highest award.
Thank you.
But those things did not make me dominant. On this show, I want to interview people from various backgrounds and careers to see what made them dominant. That's why I decided to partner up with Mission Winnow. Together, we want to promote progress and achievement while sharing real stories of struggle and success. We want to acknowledge the challenges in front of us, but we also want to pivot towards improvement and positivity.
Everything is going to work out.
We are the dominant ones. We dunk on the world. We don't let the world dunk on us.
Slam dunk competition. Jordan versus Neek. Oh! Oh! Take that. Tens. Tens.
Not really.
Hat on top cause we think excellent. Frames on straight cause I see excellent. Dress for success cause I be excellent. Everything we do, everything we do.
Hey man, what's up, man? What's going on?
Dominique Wilkins!
That's me, man, in the flesh.
What am I doing in your
Good to see
home?
you, man.
My goodness.
Good to see you, man. Thanks for coming. Amir, thank you for coming to my home and sit down and having a discussion about your life and telling us some of the great things that you're involved with. But the first thing, man, the Blacklist, man, is so interesting of a story to really kind of start following. Now, I just started my first season because I hated, starting at one point and, trying to go forward. So I went back to the beginning and start watching it, man. What a great show.
You're in season 1.
I'm in season 1.
You have a lot of television to watch to catch up on.
One thing to do, I do a lot of binge watching, so I'll catch up.
It's a perfect show to binge watch.
It is, it is. So how did acting started? How did it start for you?
I was 8 years old. I did a school play. I did a school play. I'm sure you picked up a ball when you were 8 years old.
A couple times.
Yeah, I picked up. I'm really blessed to have amazing parents, and I owe everything to them. Mm-hmm. And that's something I think about a lot now that I'm getting older too, and where I am and so forth. I can trace all of it back to. But let me trace it to exactly what my mom said. I did a school play when I was 8 years old, and I had 2 lines. And, I remember my sister being like, remember your line and remember the line that comes before you so you know when to say your line. I was like, oh, okay. And I did it, and it was no big thing. And afterwards, my mom comes up to me and goes, you have talent. I was like, okay. She goes, so with that statement, I joined the drama club and kept getting parts. And then when I was 12 years old, I got a drama award. Mrs. Feldman, who lives not far outside of Atlanta, was my lower school drama teacher. To this day, she emails me after every other Blacklist episode, telling me that she's still watching 30-something years. And so from there, it kind of built. And in high school, I did play sports. I actually was obsessed with basketball. I played basketball. I was a big fan. Watching with my dad. I was watching the dunk, all of it. But I was doing better on stage than I was on the court.
Yeah.
And,
so you got sidetracked for a short period of time before you pursued your acting career.
I remember once there was, when I got into high school, it conflicted with the football season where they did the musicals. I know it sounds funny, like, are you going to do musicals or are you going to do football? Right. And I loved them both. But it occurred to me, I was like, I may actually become an actor, and I don't think I'm going to become a football player. I don't think that's in the cards for me. So I was like, let me go into what I think might be in the cards for me, might be my future. So I kept with it, and I get another drama award when I was a senior in high school, and I was like, oh, this is what I do. And the whole time, my parents are both physicians and really wonderful. And the whole time when I was, growing up, people would be like, oh, are you going to be a doctor like your parents? And before I would even answer, my mom would be like, no, he's going to be an actor, because that is his passion.
Well, it's very few parents who actually push their kids in another field outside of their own, especially both your parents are doctors. Usually your parents want you to follow in their footsteps.
My dad would be like, "What are you saying?" He'd be, "Stop it." He said, "No. It's a tough career." So it was a toggle between my mom and my dad, and now my biggest champion is my dad.
Yeah. But you know, that's how it happens sometimes when they see a kid who has that type of passion, and there's nothing can sidetrack them, because you know, basketball was my passion. That was the road that I was going to, no matter what anybody said. So when your parents see you have a talent, it may take them a while to get used to it, but eventually they'll start to support it.
It's true. It's amazing. My dad, to this day, when he's a surgeon and he's in the operating room, and he goes, "Don't tell me the nurses are all coming up to him. Why did Aram do this on the show? Or what's going to happen at this time on this show?" And he goes, you have to come to the hospital. All the nurses and all the OR staff is asking about you and asking, why did this character do this? And I said, oh my God. So it's been, I think he gets more of a kick out of it than I do.
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, that's his son, you know, he's proud. So he does. I'm like that with my son. And when he does something that's special, that's great, man, I'm probably happier than he is. He was like, "Oh, Dad, calm down." You know, but that's the way it is, you know, especially with sons, you know. It's always going to be like that.
You know, as much as my mom has always been supportive, and I know whatever I did, she would be proud of and supportive, I really, really, really wanted to get somewhere in this industry for my dad. I wanted to show him, don't worry about me. I'm going to be okay. I want you to know that this can work. I know it's a long shot in many ways, but it's not. I got this, I got you. I just want to, and there's another moment. I remember when I got into college, I went to Columbia University. And, you know, my dad doesn't show his emotion as much. I'm more sensitive, like my mom. We show a lot of emotion. We're friendly and gregarious, and my dad's more reserved. And I remember when I got into college, I got the acceptance letter from Columbia. He pulled me aside and put his hands on my shoulders, and he goes, "Son, I'm very proud of you." And I like get emotional thinking about it, you know. And just a couple of those moments, that, you know, he holds the nuggets back, so when they land, they're worth something. You know, my mom is full of love every day.
It was gentle, it was soft, it was really meaningful.
Correct.
I mean, because he was really proud of, you know, I was just the opposite. My mom was the one who pushed me into basketball, who really supported me in basketball, because she was like, you know, the mother and father in my house, and my household. So she was my biggest supporter. You know, even to this day, now she has dementia, so she isn't quite really in the place she wants to be. But to this day, she supports everything I've ever done, and from day one. And that's rare when you can get that type of support early.
My mom is also a psychiatrist. She talks about people always, when kids go to school and they're, you know, excelling in one area but not doing good in another, they're always trying to fix them, and like, they got to be better at math, and so, you know, I had ADD when I was a kid, and they're like, "Well, he's not doing good in reading, he's not doing good." She's like, "But he's doing well in this area. Why aren't we pushing him in this area where we can encourage their confidence, where he's excelling? Why do we always have to try to fix them?" Right. We all have our gifts and our talents. Anyway, we're getting deep here.
No, but that's true. You know, a lot of times they try to make you something that you're not. Take their strong suits and help them nurture and build that, and the other stuff will fall in place.
It'll absolutely fall into place.
Absolutely. What was your first big role as an actor?
You know, I'll tell you why. There's a lot of parallels too with, you know, what was you know, I can only imagine what was your first big basket. I mean, probably in high school championship, or college, and, you know, each one feels like. So I got my first, you know, paid role. It was children's theater right when I graduated college. And I remember I got insurance. I remember I got paid $30,000 that year, but I got paid to act. And I got health insurance, and they started putting money in a pension, and I was like, I'm a professional actor. Right. So I was doing Templeton the Rat in Charlotte's Web, which seems silly now, but that role at the time, and then we played the Fox Theater in Atlanta. We went all over the country playing schools and theaters. At that time, was like, I made it. And then the next time, then I got a couple lines on a soap opera. I was like, I made it, you know, oh my God. So each one, I can't negate, like getting the role on the Blacklist is a dream come true. I always wanted a role like that on a series of that quality. But that to me is just as valid as those early.
Well, yeah, it is, but you know, it sets the stage for what your career ultimately is going to become. You know, for me, again, it started for me, when I really knew that I was good and that I would make a career out of this was my first year of high school. My first year of high school, and we won our first 28 games. And I'm like, you know what, we're in the state of North Carolina. This is basketball mecca. We're pretty good. And, you know, as a leader of the team, I'm averaging, you know, almost 28 points a game, you know. And
At
so
14
I said,
years old, 15 years old.
It was about 16, yeah,
So dope.
yeah. But it was a defining moment for me. I said, I know I'm gonna be a pro one day. And so that's where it all started for my 10th grade year. Everything after that, believe it or not, was easy. You know, so I kind of knew. I never looked back and say, you know, if I had to change something, what would it be? Because I went through all those changes early on in my life. So every step was a step to building something bigger.
Couldn't agree more.
On every level.
I couldn't agree more. I teach young actors, and anytime you feel like, oh, I didn't get that part, or a door closes, it sharpens your need to get better. If you fall down, you get knocked down, you get dunked on, and you want to move, you know, shut down, okay. But it can sharpen your need of how much you want it. And I also teach young actors. Somebody told me this when I was walking out of an audition once. She said, I was like, oh, I don't know if that, you know, if it went well or so forth. And she told me, she goes, well, we can't control if we're going to get the part or for what they want. Or the only thing we can control is how much you prepare. And that really stuck with me. I was like, the only thing you have control of in this business, in this industry, is how much you prepare. And so I made sure that if I didn't get a part or if I didn't get where I wanted it, it wasn't going to be because I didn't prepare enough.
You know, it's funny you say that because I tell young kids all the time, preparation is everything.
Number one.
Because even though you might not
Preparation,
get a lot of playing time, you have to prepare to play.
The moment may come.
Yeah, they may come.
Tom Brady.
And you're going to be called on. Tom
You're
Brady,
gonna
prime example.
Drew Bledsoe goes down, they win the Super Bowl, is what
And now he's become probably the greatest quarterback in history, you know.
always. I know Tony winners, I know actors, you can get a pilot, you can book a pilot and then they can replace you and then they recast the whole thing. You don't know, and then all of a sudden your number is called. Hugh Jackman wasn't the original Wolverine. It was, I think his name was Robert Townsend, and then they had a scheduling conflict. Hugh Jackman was doing musicals in Australia and he was known as a song and dance man, and they're like, well, they looked at the casting tapes, well, this guy was really good from Australia. It's Hugh Jackman, it's Wolverine. He was prepared, he knew his moment, he loved his craft. All the other stuff will come if you just keep doing what you love. Even if you don't get to the Hall of Fame or on a great series or something, if you do what you love, beautiful things will happen.
Oh yeah, no question. It's all the preparation and the work you put in. When I was coming out of school, going into college, I never thought once about a Hall of Fame or having statues or any of that stuff. But it was the hard work and preparation that I put in that ultimately got me to the level where like, I have a chance to be one of the best ever, but I got to put in the work. But I never thought about the Hall of Fame until maybe my last 4 or 5 years of my career. I'm like, hey, I might have a chance to be in the Hall of Fame one day. So, but again, I worked at it.
But I'm guessing. You know, people, oh, you're on a show and you're popular. So the thing that I still like the most is the work.
You know what, the work, I love being busy. Even to this day, man, I can't sit still. I'm always doing something. It's the work that brings that satisfaction.
Right.
The end product is just a result of all that hard work you put in. And I hate to see a lot of guys who play a sport or entertainer or a singer, what have you, that is content with the riches and all the things that comes with it, but they don't like to work.
I feel bad.
And you can't have one without the other.
not gonna last.
You know, it's not going to last because you're going to be around for a very short period of time.
When I taught my first acting class to young actors that wanted to do it, my mom taught when she was younger, and she said, you know, people don't retain 90% of what you say after a couple of years, you know. So if you want to get one good point across, what's that going to? So I really thought about it, and I came up with something. I call it the 4 Ps. The 4 Ps of professionalism that I like to apply for an audition, or when you're on set, or when you're on stage, and then I've actually carried it on and tried to apply it in life. First one. Preparation. Preparation, preparation, preparation. Second one, simple, punctuality. Debbie Allen once said too, early is on time and on time is late. Third, it's very simple, positive. Remain positive, because we are the only people that can get in our own way. If something happens,
That's so true.
remain positive. And third, this is a hard one, remain patient. Tom Brady. Simple, those 4 Ps. You get to an audition room, if you're prepared, you don't have to stress. Your preparation will carry you. You've shot 100 free throws. If you're on time, you're not going to be sweating and worried and get a drink of water. If you're patient, they may take 2 hours. Positive, it can only be a good experience.
Patience is the key, because one thing my coach told me when I was very young, he said, teaching you to become a young man or a young woman is difficult. If you can perfect that, teaching you the game is easy, because you mature a lot quicker, you prepare a lot, and you have a lot of patience. And so he taught me that early on. And the trade-off, we went 76-1 in 3 years, because of that patience, because of that focus, and we all was on the same accord. We all believed in the same thing, and we all pulled for one another, and that's how it worked. But it was the patience, because my first year we didn't win the state title. Because I remember my coach said, if you guys stick with me the next 2 years, we won't lose another game. And we ran off 56 in a row back-to-back titles. But we had to go through some setbacks, a loss, to get to that point.
Of course.
But it was the patience, So that's what makes you great. That's what makes you successful. The Blacklist is a show that, again, I've just started watching quite a bit. I mean, I'm falling in love with this show. So tell us about your character.
So the role I play his name is Special FBI Agent Aram Mojtabai. And his technical position is the Tactical and Strategic Technician for the Secret Task Force. And when I got the role, I mean, that's a whole story in and of itself, but, the role was still kind of, they were feeling it out, but I improvised a little in my audition, which is rare, because I was really unattached. I was loose. I was going to fly back to LA. It was a small part. I didn't really felt like, I was like, do I need to do this? But the casting director had been good to me. I said, you know what, no small parts, let me just go. But it was a computer guy that was like, any competent actor can do this. And I go to the waiting room, and there's all kinds of guys, all races, all heights, wide, thin, tall, short, ages. And I was like, they can get any one of these guys. I said, well, what can I do that A, I'm going to enjoy this, and B, how am I going to want to do this? I can serve, it can be a job. And I said, I'm going to go and have an obnoxious amount of fun. I'm going to do this the way I haven't been able to do a dramatic role before. I'm going to throw in as much fun and personality as I can, because otherwise I think I might get bored, because the role was just exposition. So I went in there and didn't even think anything, didn't care if I got it, and stayed loose and improvised a little bit. And the director was like, that's great, I got the information, I got a personality. And then when I got on set, they had changed the name of the character to Aram, because that director had said, you need a guy like this on the show, and we should name him Amir, so they named him Aram to be like me. When I found that out on set, it was really encouraging. I was like, oh, just do me, have fun. And I improvised again, and they kept it. So then they started writing like to my natural sense of humor and to my rhythm. And that's when I got that, like it was like the 4th or 5th script that I got. And I was supposed to do 1 and then 2 and then 5, and then, they kept me around. When I got that script that had my, there was 1 or 2 jokes in there that were written exactly the way I would have made them. I was like, okay, something magical is happening right now. This is So when I got the part, I was like, well, how am I going to develop this guy besides it having my own sense of humor? I said, well, he wants to solve things, and he wants to work really hard and make sure he pleases Raymond Reddington and Cooper and the team. Well, I love acting, and I really want to make sure I do a good job on James Spader's set and on this show and so forth. So I just let it grow from there, and now 7 years later, I've grown as a person, the role has grown, I'm out in the field doing action, I have love stories, everything. I never, ever could have imagined. You couldn't have imagined being in the, it's not the same thing as the Hall of Fame, but you just do the work and it grows.
So your role is really, really fun and loose. You really add a lot or bring a lot of humor to that role.
It's such a trip.
And the funny thing when I saw it, the first really main part of your role or your character, you were really nervous. I think that's before you became this, this tough guy, this villain type of guy in a sense. But it just seemed like it was more of a humorous role.
Correct.
In the beginning.
Correct.
But now it's become like you're a real serious guy.
Correct. So one of my favorite actors is Robin Williams. I always think that if you're in a drama, there's room for comedy, and if you're in a comedy, there's room for drama.
Exactly.
So the full human. If you can open up someone's heart and make them laugh, right after that you can make them cry. And so I also thought when I got the role that it was simple, exposition, information, and a joke here and there to lighten the mood. Look, the fact that you're watching it and talking, and I'm on your podcast here. I'm sitting there with my dad watching you, on TNT, and now you're telling me you're watching the show, asking me, you can't even dream this stuff.
It makes me even want to watch the show even more because, hey, I know you very well now. We've spent a lot of time together now. We are on the same charitable, campaign together. So it's like, I really want to know more about this guy. Know more about his role. So it makes me want to watch the show even more. And hey, the show is an excellent show. It's a lot of fun. I encourage a lot of people to watch this show because it's really good.
Thank you, Dom.
Give us your definition of dominance.
Gratitude. Maybe a non-traditional answer, but keeps you in the moment.
It keeps you in the moment, and it really shows your appreciation and your patience and your perseverance and some of the struggle, too, that help you get to this level. All those things, and I say all the time, it's failure. It's not failure. It's obstacles in the road. Some of those setbacks that help you get to this point because it makes you work that much harder.
Correct.
And so I do agree with you. It's those things that give us the ability to continue to do great things, man. So I appreciate you, Amir, man. We're going to see a lot of each other. I know we got a meeting tomorrow, so it doesn't end here. So thanks again, bro.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Dominance.